Well, I have no respect for my own life. That's the only explanation I have for even attempting to name the 10 best cartoons for kids from the 90s. I mean, where do I even begin? There were a ridiculous number of incredible cartoons from the 90s. Still, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? Before I begin, let me set the ground rules. Each entry in this list has to be targeted toward kids. So Beavis and Butthead, South Park, I'm sorry, you're out of the running for this list.
This sucks more than anything that has ever sucked before.
Entries may have premiered in the 80s or ended in the 90's, so long as the bulk of their run was in the 90s, they are eligible for this list.
One more thing!
These are my own choices. They are not going to match yours. Guaranteed. Most of you are not going to agree with my list. Rest assured, this will not be the only top 10 list of 90s cartoons I do. Also, smash that like button! Hit the bell next to the subscribe button. Be sure to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, I'm also on Patreon, where you can give me money to keep making these videos. There. Now that my obligatory whoring is out of the way, let's get to the list. The year was 1991. Tim Burton's Batman had come out just a couple years previously, and the highly anticipated sequel was set to release the next year. The successful revival of a dark pulp fiction-inspired Batman, a term which here does not refer to Tarantino's 1994 non-linear neo-noir masterpiece, but the stories popular in the early 20th century that acted as a precursor of sorts to comics, meant it was only a matter of time before parodies popped up. One of the best parodies of that era answered the question, what would Batman look like in the DuckTales universe? Although Darkwing Duck had plenty of funny, slapstick action, it also did a clever job at poking fun at superhero tropes. At the same time, it also managed to explore the dangers of leading a double life in sometimes surprisingly touching ways, thanks to the relationship between Darkwing Duck's alter ego Drake and his adopted daughter, Gosselin Mallard.
What's the ribs, kid?
I thought you were...
Ha! Nobody can hurt Darkwing Drake Mallard. I have to take care of myself, you know, now that I'll have an adopted daughter to worry about. Now, if it's all right with Mrs. Kavanaugh...
Ancient Rome. It's not like home. Colosseum.
Based on the popular books by Mark Brown, Arthur, a PBS kids show, combined humor that was at times, well, just bizarre, with a keen sense of what it actually means to be a kid. And it created a show that was truly one of a kind. The best part of my day was coming home from school to watch this show when I was 10. Until I was 21. I'm not ashamed to admit it. The show was incredible. Get off my back, it's not creepy. Ren and Stimpy set an incredible precedent for Nickelodeon cartoons in the 90s. The creators somehow managed to get so much inappropriate, sometimes downright disturbing content into their children's show. This innovative show paved the way for what I consider to be its spiritual successor, Rocko's Modern Life. The Wallaby-centered show was infamous for its racy humor. I mean, Rocko was a sex phone operator, for cripe's sake.
Oh baby, oh baby, oh baby. Rocko? Mrs. Bighead?
Fortunately, most of the racy humor went straight over my head as a kid, and since my mom worked, she never had the time to sit down and realize I was watching a show in which a frog was trying to boink a wallaby. Interestingly, this show launched the careers of Tom Kenny, who voiced Heifer Wolf, and Steven Hillenburg, who directed many of the episodes. After Rocko's Modern Life's run ended, Hillenburg began working on a pet project he called SpongeBob SquarePants. When the time came to cast the voice for the show's titular character, he reached out to his old friend Tom Kenny. Dexter's Lab had it all: a novel concept, zany, off-the-wall humor, and a clever satire of pop culture. The pilot for the show debuted on Cartoon Network's What a Cartoon! I don't know, he's got the exclamation point, and it begs to be read that way. What a cartoon! Show in 1995. After the positive reception it received, Cartoon Network greenlit the show for a full production. Like Rocko's Modern Life, Dexter's Lab played to both kids and adults, but it had a certain sense for cinematic flair that set it apart from other cartoons. Many of the segments perfectly emulated the feel of the samurai, sentai, that's with an S, not an H, very important distinction, comic book, western, and sci-fi film and TV genres. There could be little doubt that Genndy Tartakovsky, that sounds good, and his team had a unique vision for their show. Tartakovsky, that's kind of fun to say after the first couple times, would later go on to refine his flair for animated cinematic beauty in his later creation, Samurai Jack, a show which has made a recent comeback and is incredibly badass. If you have not checked out Samurai Jack, you should check it out. It would absolutely be on this list if it had only premiered a couple years earlier. In 1989, Toei Animation partnered with Marvel to create a pilot for an animated X-Men series called Pride of the X-Men. Apart from some patented awesome Toei animation, and Wolverine who was doing his best Hugh Jackman impression, in sort of a weird, meta-prophetic kind of way.
Welcome her. Wait, she's not joining the X-Men, is she? She's just a kid.
The pilot was not quite uncanny enough to be picked up for a series. After going back to the drawing board, Marvel partnered with the South Korean animation company ACOM and debuted X-Men, the animated series, in 1992. While the animation left a little to be desired, the actual substance of the show was incredible. Like the comics it was based on, the series explored some pretty heavy themes like discrimination, forgiveness, and compassion. Its characters were complex, and its story arcs never pandered to kids. It went a long way in showing just how deep comic book stories could be. Okay, buckle up, because we're about to go on a Nickelodeon binge with the next 3 picks. I swear I didn't do this on purpose. Nickelodeon was just killing it in the 90's. The concept for the Rugrats was developed by Paul Germain, Arlene Klasky, and her husband Gabor Supo. Klasky and Supo got inspiration for the show from observations of their own children. The couple's production company, the aptly named Klasky Supo, had already proven itself more than capable to produce an animated show, having been the principal animators for Gracie Films' The Simpsons. What made Rugrats so special was the fact that there had never been a show about babies getting into all kinds of mischief while making clever commentary about current trends in pop culture. Maybe Muppet Babies did it first. But Rugrats managed to actually capture what toddlers actually do, and how they sound, and how they would think. They talked like babies, they thought like babies, and they cared about what babies cared about. In a way, it allowed all who watched a chance to look at the world through a toddler's eyes once more. It also didn't hurt that the show was consistently funny and occasionally powerfully touching.
My sweet little Chucky, though I must leave you behind me, this poem will tell you where you always can find me. When a gentle wind blows, that's my hand on your face. And when the tree gives you shade, that's my sheltering embrace. When the sun gives you freckles, that's me tickling my boy. When the rain wets your hair, those are my tears of joy. When the long grass enfolds you, that's me holding you tight. When the whippoorwill sings, that's me whispering night.
Damn it, Chaz. He's just a single dad trying to do the best that he can with the shit hand that fate has dealt him. You go forward, Chaz. I'm with you 100%.
By the power of Grayskull.
My older brother was more a child of the 80s than the 90s, and he watched He-Man when he was a kid. Also, he watched Thundercats, shows that combined sci-fi with fantasy, with a healthy dose of action and adventure. I watched Doug, a show about an utterly ordinary 11-year-old kid who struggles with social anxiety. Most of the show's excitement and humor came from Doug's numerous daydreams and his Quailman comics. Doug's imaginary adventures followed the exact logic as those of real 11-year-olds. Add to that the zany residents of Bluffington juxtaposed with Doug's seeming rationality, and you had a show that, while at times over the top and wacky, nevertheless started the trend of cartoons exploring childhood in a non-pandering way, paving the way for shows like Arthur, Recess, and of course... Much like Doug, Hey Arnold tackled what it was like to live the life of an American kid. What set the show apart was how perfectly it captured what friendship in the 4th grade really looks like. True, the kids from PS 118 occasionally had some over-the-top adventures, the likes of which no normal child would ever engage in, and I don't care what anybody says, no kid had a room as cool as Arnold's. Still, each episode mainly dealt with issues every kid deals with. Unrequited love, bullying, miniature boat racing, I guess, sports, family troubles. It was all there and explored in entertaining and funny ways. What pushed Hey Arnold slightly higher on my list are the episodes like Arnold's Christmas, in which Arnold tracks down Mr. Hyuin's long-lost daughter and reunites the two. Or Helga on the Couch, in which Helga's sad home life is painfully revealed. Hey Arnold taught me the importance of empathy and compassion, because you just never know what a person may be going through. If you're going to make a Batman series, the two things you absolutely have to have is a good Batman and a good Joker. Batman the Animated Series had Kevin Conroy as the perfect Batman and Mark Hamill as the perfect Joker. In fact, I would argue that Kevin Conroy is the only performer who manages to nail both sides of the Caped Crusader. While the series boasted some truly impressive voice acting, it also had some incredible writers, such as Paul Dini. Dini got his start writing episodes for He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, where he wrote some of the series' best episodes. With some help from Bruce Timm, he created Harley Quinn, giving every uncreative cosplay girl inspiration for convention costumes for decades to come. The incredible writing was accompanied by an inspired art direction, which evoked the Art Deco architecture of the 30s with the fashion style and automobiles of the 40s, thus paying homage to the era in which Batman comics first ran. The show also did not shy away from dark, sinister plots and a gothic tone throughout. Thus, the show was the perfect mix of what Batman was originally and what it had become in the 80s and 90s. It was an incredible show, and it is the main reason that Batman became my favorite comic book hero. It was to be the peak of Batman, before the steep drop into the valley of the shadow of Batnipples. Okay, guys, I know I'm cheating a bit with this one, since The Simpsons wasn't technically targeted mainly at children. Back in the 90s, it was considered a family sitcom, with something to offer to everybody. So, screw it, I say it counts. Even though I had many friends whose parents wouldn't let them watch the show, I still say it counts. Back in the early 90s, you could not look anywhere without seeing one of the members of the Simpsons family. Most often Bart. They were on t-shirts, candy commercials, watches, pogs, feminine hygiene products, probably. It was an utter phenomenon, and it's little wonder. The Simpsons may have got its start as a series in the 80s, but it entered its golden age in the 90s, thanks to some classic stories written by the likes of Conan O'Brien. These episodes were not only hilarious, they were also at times genuinely touching. Need proof? Just watch the episode titled Lisa's First Word.
You know, Maggie, the sooner kids talk, the sooner they talk back. I hope you never say a word.
The Simpsons was such a unique show in the 90s. Nothing has ever been able to quite capture the charm, humor, and endearing qualities it had. Heck, not even the modern Simpsons episodes can come anywhere close to capturing the magic of those years. And that's why it's my pick for best cartoon of the 90s. Okay, so that's my list. What did you guys think? What is your favorite cartoon from the 90s? I would love to hear from you in the comments below. I already got all the whoring out of the way at the beginning of the movie, so I don't have to tell you about subscribing or following me on Facebook or Twitter or Patreon. But I just did.